Welcome to another episode of Driving to the Race with your favorite hosts, Inelia and Larry.
Yeah, I go first.
You've remembered. I forgot the host part. Reminds me of our favorite Dr. Cowan. He never gets his right either. But he's been doing pretty good lately.
Yeah, and his podcasts are awesome.
They're always awesome. So if you don't listen or haven't listened to Dr. Cowan, you probably should.
You probably should, yeah, if you haven't yet.
Yeah, he does talk about a lot of interesting things. And they're not all just coronavirus, this or that, but, you know, there's interesting things like structured water.
Yes, structured water. Fascinating. And the wind harp things.
The wind harp things, yeah, those are pretty darn cool.
Oh, those are cool. We have a friend who has one of those.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, his isn't the same thing.
Isn't it? I thought you said it was a wind harp.
Maybe it is. I haven't seen it.
Yeah. Maybe you can bring it over and show us.
That would be nice. Wind harps are an interesting thing. Mm-hmm. So, what's been on your mind lately?
What's been on my mind? Well, I had lots of things in my mind that came in, which is unusual because I usually don't have stuff in my mind. But it's been a lot recently.
Yeah, it has been.
A little bit overwhelming, actually.
It's been quite a strong week, hasn't it?
Yeah. So there's a lot of conversations on our Telegram channel, the Inelia Benz channel. And one of the things keeps popping up, there's a couple of things. It has to do with the coronavirus thing. Right?
Not that still.
I know.
Aren't we over that yet?
No.
Oh,
I
my
think
goodness.
it's accelerating even.
Oh,
but there's a couple of things that keep popping up. One of them is people keep posting things on my channel that say, oh, it's okay, you can get the vaccination as long as you meditate or you take these supplements and you can reverse the damage and you're going to be just great.
Okay, go ahead for it, do that. Is that one of those traps?
It's one of those traps. I would suggest that people don't listen to those because it's a trap. You give your consent to the low frequency engagement when you take the vaccine, basically. So, yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, those traps. One thing to consider. You're entering into we call it a minefield in a sense, although it's also an Easter egg hunt.
An Easter egg hunt, I like that idea.
It depends on whether you're on which side of the split that you're
voting for,
hunting on, or searching in. Yeah. When you're navigating this Easter egg hunt, we go find idyllic locations like we have in our backyard of the Shaman Shack right now. We're in the center of the spiral, our little labyrinth in the creek behind. Watch the baby salmon swimming around, talking about our experiences for the week in our podcast.
Yeah, it's pretty idyllic.
We're driving, not driving. That's what I call an Easter egg. There's also these mines that are popping around. There's mines. We go to when we drive to the res, there's a couple of mines there, One of the mines I'm navigating right now is that my daughter's picking her school and it's mandatory vaccinations. But it isn't really.
No, they still honor the clauses of religion or philosophy.
Religious, philosophical, or medical reasons are okay for exceptions. But it is mandatory.
Even though they're in California, so it's very strange.
Yeah, but it is mandatory, except for you can opt out. But it's mandatory.
That's the minefield?
That's one of the mines, right? You can fall into that mine very easily.
Very easily.
So,
hi, Theodora. Hi, say hi to everybody.
It does seem, yes, Dora, Theodora, and Peavy. Now that you're getting attention from the cat, the dog wants it.
Yeah.
She was perfectly fine. These are Easter eggs.
These are Easter eggs.
Yes. So the minefields and the Easter eggs, I guess. It's reasonable to say, I'll go get the shot and then I'll meditate about it and clear it from my system because I'm a light being and light's not going to get affected by this darkness or whatever, I mean, I've heard that kind of stuff before.
It makes it okay to make that decision, I suppose, right?
It creates the opening for that to be okay. Now, why would it... Now, this is a reasonable question. why is this one thing,
Mm-hmm.
which appears to be this one thing? Why is this one thing the thing? You do that, you're on the wrong side of the split. Well, for us.
Mm-hmm.
You do it, and it doesn't matter what, you're on the wrong side of the split. You
Mm-hmm.
don't do it, and it doesn't matter what, you're on the right side of the split. Obviously, that's not true.
No, that's not true.
That's just one of many things.
Yes.
As Michael would say at the gates of wherever dimensional gate past which he won't allow you to pass,
Mm-hmm.
there are a billion things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the most obvious and upfront and easiest for us to discern in this current time and place is shot, yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
Easy. Because shot yes means I've subscribed to a whole bunch of fear things.
Yeah.
And shot no means I'm not subscribing to a whole bunch of fear things.
Fear or, what's it called when you give away your power?
Authority.
Obedience. Compliance. Yeah.
Right, I
It's
think
something
that
that you know is instinctively wrong.
maybe that, maybe so. More, I mean, I remember when you first described a fear processing exercise some years ago, and I'd listened to it, and I said, well, that's all fine and dandy, but I don't have any fears. I'm not afraid of nothing. I mean, obviously I did have plenty of fears. And I said, well, what about other things, you know, because it's not like all fear. And he's like, at the root, most of these things,
Finish up
they
and
are
fear.
a fear thing.
Yeah.
So you're jealous, afraid you're less than somebody else or
Yeah.
something. Basically,
Fear of
it
rejection.
comes down to a fear of rejection, a fear of being singled out, a fear of being persecuted, a fear of being not smart enough, a fear of being a billion things. But in a sense, if you get that shot, then you're afraid of, at some point or another,
of something.
Mm-hmm. If you
Losing
don't
your
get
job,
it, you
being not
don't
seen
get
right
it
in your
because you're
family's
afraid of
eyes.
getting it.
Yeah.
Does that still count?
Well, it depends what kind of fear. You know, it's like, is it street smart fear or is it, you know?
Well, I would argue that it is equivalent if you're not getting it because you're afraid of the consequences.
Is it because you're going to get extremely sick and you know it?
You're afraid you're going to get sick. That's not the same.
It's not the same as knowing that you're
Knowing
going to
that
get
you're
sick.
going to get sick. I know if I get that shot, I pick the dark side of the light dark.
Yeah.
Or the darker side
If
of
somebody
the light dark.
hands you a vial
understand
of
what I'm saying.
poison, right?
Do you not drink it because you're afraid of drinking it? Hell yeah, I'm afraid of drinking it. But that's not the same, is it?
Because you know at that point that a poison's going to kill you or make you very sick. And you don't want that consequence.
But I am
Is that
definitely
fear?
afraid of drinking it. Well,
Are you afraid of it?
I'm afraid
It's like-
to touch it even. Yeah. There's fear involved.
Oh, okay. When I look at it, there's no fear, it's just a knowing. If I drink that poison, I'm going to get very sick or I'm going to die, so I won't do it. Because I don't want to get sick or die.
So I think it's reasonable then to, if you have a fear, and that's your driving purpose, is your fear, to not get the shot because you're afraid of what will happen, process your fear.
If there's fear there, absolutely, yeah. Process your
Okay.
fear.
Process your fear because it's an equivalent spiritually to responding out of fear.
I would say so, yeah. I think that's a good point.
Well, it gets really complex, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
There's a place of
sounds
knowing
complex,
and
but
there's
it
a
isn't.
place of fear, right?
That's a very, very good distinction. I think it's important that, I mean...
I don't go through red lights because I know that if I keep doing it, there's a possibility, a very high chance, that somebody will smash into my car.
There's also an extremely high chance that they won't. Because you are you know.
No, because I am subscribed to a society and a structure that says, stop at red lights because the other person has green and they're going to go. That's a subscription, that's an agreement. It's a co-created agreement. And the agreements that we create at a social level are larger than my enlightened state.
Well, I'm talking about... Whoa, your puppy fell in the water. Puppy.
Oh no.
She's not a big swimmer yet.
Oh no, she fell in, she's soaking wet.
Playing with Dora.
Oh no.
Who would have ever thought the dog would be playing with a cat in the water? Oh my goodness.
Had a good shake.
Well, I'm pretty sure if I repeatedly ran through any red lights, eventually I'm going to have some impact with some cars.
Exactly.
But you might not.
But I am
at least
part
not
of
an
that
impact that would take you out.
No, but here's the thing. I am still part of that social agreement.
Right, but there's other agreements that you're a part of. I like to remember the story of your rock climbing.
Yeah, but there's so much foolhardiness that you can use, even if you're a high-frequency individual, that the collective agreement would allow for, right?
Well, would you tell that rock story? Because it's really fascinating. It's so funny.
I know, they also told me...
They also told you a very important thing at the end of it.
Yeah, very important thing. Right.
And I think it's relevant with the red lights, and I think probably some people's perceptions of things.
Yeah. So when I was a teenager, I used to rock climb without any ropes or anything. It's one of those...
Free solo or free climbing, or whatever they call that.
I didn't know there was a name for it. I just did it spontaneously one day and carried on. Every time we'd go to a mountain or a hill, I would just climb it.
Pause for a second. No, not pause.
Oh.
I also used to do that, but with very short rocks, and not because I thought that was the best idea. I just didn't know they could use ropes.
Oh.
So
that's how much we knew about climbing.
Yeah. Ropes. And I didn't understand how the heck could you put a rope on and stop you from falling when you're climbing up the hill.
Yeah.
I didn't know that they had to stick little, things in the rocks.
Yeah.
But you just were doing it, and you knew you didn't need a rope. You were just climbing for the pure joy and connection of the climb.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was really great. It was a challenge, and I loved physical challenges.
Right.
And I was extremely fit. So even though I had a heart condition, it's like, it was really fun. And I remember once we were at the Lake District in England, and there was this mountain face that was rocky, and I thought, that looks really good. I'm going to climb it. And there's nobody else around. So I just went over and I started climbing it. And it was really high. It was a lot higher than I expected. It was a challenge and I enjoyed it. But before I left, I saw that there were people on the summit, and I could see there was a hike, a trail going up to the mountain. So I thought, it's pretty long, but I don't have to climb down, so that's okay.
Yeah, can you imagine trying to climb back down a rock?
Yeah, I've done that plenty of time too, but it's a different type of climb, because when you're climbing up, you have to make sure that you can reverse all the movements, right? But often there's climbs that you cannot. But when I saw that there was a trail up ahead, I thought, okay, that's cool. It's a lot easier to just climb when you don't have to think about coming down in the same way. So anyways, I started climbing. I was about an hour in, and I was halfway through. And I looked down, and the people below, they looked like tiny little ants.
Oops.
Yeah. And I carried on climbing, and then I got to near the top. I was very close, and then I noticed that there was a rock coming out of the summit. It was 90 degrees, and it was way too long for my arm. And I thought...
So you couldn't reach?
I couldn't reach it now. And I thought, uh-oh. Because this climb, and even that last move, I could not reverse. It was one of those where you jump onto the next... handhold and stuff.
I watched that yesterday on some videos.
Uh-huh.
And those guys with the ropes on, because I figured out what the ropes are for eventually, they must do it like 30 or 40 or 50 times falling. And then they go exercise, and they work out some more, and then they try again, and they fall.
Yeah.
And then one time they finally get it. Yeah. But it takes like 30 or 40 or even a year's worth of trying.
Yeah.
So you were in one of those tries where you're going to need 30 or 40 or a year's worth of trying to get it?
Probably.
Oh, gosh.
And the rock was really smooth. There was no handholds, because even if I could get the tips of my fingers on a crack of a rock, I would be able to swing my arm around it, right? But I needed a couple of those. And I looked down, and it was very, very high. I was, trapped. And I couldn't climb up on that 90-degree rock. I couldn't reach the edge, and the climb down, it was impossible. And I was stuck.
There was no up, no down.
No up, no down, nothing. So I kind of...
Did you have any fear?
No, I had no fear. It's one of those situations, you get into a situation, why would you be afraid, right? You got yourself there.
Because the consequences are relatively severe.
Well, I was 16 at the time, and I thought, I had a good innings,
Good innings?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. That's not a word or a term that I would understand.
Okay, so in cricket, when one of the players has a good score, a score is an innings.
Oh.
And, it means you had a good game. If you had a good innings, it means you had a good game. So that's what I thought. I was like, oh, well, I'm going to have a go. I'm going to just push myself out to try and grab the edge of the rock, going out. I knew I wasn't going to be able to make it, but it was the only chance I had, right? So before I lost all my strength and I couldn't even try on the jump,
Yeah.
So I stuck myself against the rock and then jumped up and up, trying to grab the thing. Of course, I failed miserably. I didn't even go halfway past the ceiling. Yeah.
Halfway out and you're already falling?
Yeah. And I thought, oh, dang. Stronger words. And I said, oh, well, I'll find out what the other side's like.
Again?
Again. And suddenly, my body stopped midair. It moved all the way to the edge of the rock and up and then back in to the edge and dropped on the top of the rock. And I'm like, holy shit, how did that happen? Pardon my language. And,
like you had a cheat code or what?
And I heard these physical voices in my head saying, that was extremely stupid. Do not ever do that again. If you're going to do something dangerous, make sure you plan ahead. Do not take these kind of risks. We're not going to save you again. And that was the end of the message. Right, this is the last time we're going to save your ass. The very last time. That's what the voices said.
Did you believe them?
Absolutely. I never climbed again.
Do you think it was the little guys that you grew up with?
No, there were different voices.
Different voices?
Yeah, there were different voices. From my perspective, I think it's the human collective. I thought it was the human collective at the time.
Uh-huh.
And I still think so. Because it was like voices, not just one voice saying it. And it was human voices and deep voices and high voices and like a lot of voices saying this. And I was like, whoa, holy smokes. It's like I was just lifted out. It could have been angels, maybe it was Gabriel.
Maybe. Well, I remember the corollary to that story a little bit. You had mentioned you were sitting next to someone on an airplane and they were terrified. You said, don't worry, it's not going to crash.
Because I'm on it.
Because I'm on it.
Yes.
I'm not scheduled to go out this way.
Yes.
So, at the same time, you acknowledge that if you continuously ran through red lights, that's outside the collective agreement. That's
yeah, exactly.
That's like the Superman boy playing football.
I don't understand the correlation there, but...
Well, it's outside the agreement that Superman has, to play in competitive sports because it's not...
It's not fair on the others?
Yeah.
If it's dangerous, you might hurt them? It's not really a game because you're going to win?
It's outside of the agreement, in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
So you running through red lights is like that Superman boy playing football. It's outside the, with those skills and abilities and your purpose and mission, running through red lights just because you can and not get killed is like you're basically putting other people's lives
at danger. Yeah, because you might not get killed because
you
they
might
swerve.
not, but somebody else might.
Yeah, they crash into another truck and everything is gone, right?
It's usually irresponsible. And so that's the same as getting this vaccination shot or this mRNA shot or whatever the hell shot you want to call it.
Yeah.
You get this injection, you're making a choice.
Yep.
It's a black and white choice.
It is, pretty much.
You can find all the facts you want to back up whichever side that you're on.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they'll be facts.
Yep. Yeah. And if you're looking for an excuse to take it, go ahead and take it. Don't stop looking for excuses, man.
Yeah, if you need an excuse to take it, there's tons of them. Go get one.
Just get one. It doesn't matter. It's your choice.
Yeah, it's your choice.
Mm-hmm.
And either side you're picking, it's like, thank you for picking.
Yeah. Thank you for picking.
Because once the picking is over, then the being starts more.
Yeah.
Maybe?
You'll start resolving faster. Yeah.
In a little bit, I read a quote today. I'm going to share with you. It's not a bum one. It's a good one. But it kind of illustrates a little bit of what we're talking about.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So this is from Rambo.
Rambo? Okay.
I don't think it's the real Rambo.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's not. Because it's from Seek the Truth 101. So, I don't think Rambo lives there.
No.
Anyway, at first, you see it's all corrupt. Then, you see it's all staged. Then it becomes clear it's scripted. Then you see the actors. Before you realize they don't actually exist.
Very zen.
Do you get it?
It's very zen.
It's like, from where, from what perspective are these things, does this shot matter?
Right, exactly.
Does it matter if you're alive or dead here?
Mm-hmm.
Does it?
No, not really.
No, not really, does it? Take the shot and die, don't take the shot and die.
Doesn't really
Take
matter.
the shot and don't die, don't take the shot and don't die.
Mm-hmm.
Those are pretty much irrelevancies. We're talking about a different choice.
Yeah.
Where are you going to reside this next 10 million whacks at it?
Yeah.
Are you going to reside in light? Or are you going to reside in light dark?
Yeah.
That's what you're asking. That's what you're doing. So if you die or don't die, kind of less relevant.
Mm-hmm.
But, on the plate, so to speak.
Yeah.
So since this is like one of a zillion ways to make this choice, this little shot thing, what are some of the other possibilities for how the choices might come in? Is it just minefields and Easter eggs we're talking about? Just more variations on the same? Or are there going to be things like you could take a stand, grab your AR, and go out in a blaze of glory for rights?
Yeah, that would be an exit.
That would be one way.
An exit to the light dark paradigm, yeah. Yeah, to continue on it, yeah.
Right.
War is definitely it.
What about Alien One? If they come and say, we're here to save you, and you get on the ship, would that be one?
They have kittens and puppies in their ship.
Well, that's all right. I mean, that's not a bad thing.
Look, little boy, we have kittens in our ship.
Well, who wouldn't get on? There's nothing to be afraid of. They're not here to save me. They're just here to show their kittens. Mm-hmm. You're not allowed to get on a ship with aliens if they show up with kittens? Is that what you're saying?
No. When I was 7 years old, I lived with my grandmother in a tiny little town called Codewa in Chile.
Yeah.
And one day, me and my cousin were walking on the park, and there was an ice cream van there. And we got to the ice cream, we were looking at the ice cream, like daydreaming that we should get ice cream, but we didn't have any money. But we were daydreaming it. And this stranger comes up, this old guy, and says, "Oh, hi, would you like some ice cream?" And I looked at him and I says, Nope, leave us alone. And my cousin says, "But I want an ice cream." And I said, "No, we're not getting ice cream from him." And he said, "But it's okay, I know your grandma." And I said, "Nope, I don't know you. My grandma told me not to take anything from strangers, and you're a stranger." I said, "But I'm not a stranger." I said, "Yes, you are. You're a stranger." And this guy was like trying to convince us to accept this ice cream. And the ice cream seller said, "No, it's okay. You can take an ice cream from this one." I said, "No, well, I should trust a guy in an ice cream van, sure." And I grabbed my cousin and we ran away. Right? And she was really upset because she really wanted ice cream. And then, a few hours later, right, the man arrives at my grandma's house with a box of ice cream. And my grandma opens the door and he says, "Oh, hi, it's Mr. Such and Such." And he says, "Well, I came here to bring you some ice cream because you've taught your granddaughter really, really well. She will not take anything from a stranger." Even though he's the mayor of the town. And everybody knows him. So here it is. This is a prize for her because she did the right thing. She did not accept any ice cream from a stranger. And you have taught her very well. And my grandma was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And said, No, don't be sorry. You taught her well. And
don't ever trust politicians. Is that what you were saying?
And he kind of came in and I was giving him like dagger eyes.
Give him the dagger eyes.
I did not trust him even then.
Probably.
But my grandma was happy
reason.
and he gave us the ice cream and my cousin was really happy. And then he said, "Well, you still don't trust me." And I said, "Well, I still don't know you." I says, "Yeah, but, it's okay to have ice cream." And I looked at my grandma and she said, yeah, you can take the ice cream. So I did. I took the ice cream. And I went back inside and they had a conversation after. And, my cousin and I were inside the kitchen eating the ice cream.
And I was a politician in Chile.
Yeah, in a tiny little town that everybody knew, right? But I didn't. I didn't care what other people told me. I was like, nope, he's a stranger to me. I'm getting out of here, right? So it's like one of those trust things, you know? Do you trust the ETs with the kittens? I don't know.
They probably have really nice kittens.
I guess your mom didn't teach you right. Huh. Or your dad. Don't get into cars with kittens in them.
I guess you're going to have to hang out with me because you're going to have to help me decide if these are good alien kittens or bad aliens with kittens. I think that I'm probably not going to be a good judge of that.
Here's the thing. If the aliens come in and they don't have to offer kittens because they can connect with you at a high frequency level telepathically and you know their entire history immediately and they're not strangers anymore, then yeah, sure, get on the spaceship.
Okay.
But if they're here promising
they say, hey,
Shangri-La,
look, I have some kittens.
Yeah, go ahead, come over here.
Come on in here.
We'll save you.
Well, if it looks like bait, I'm probably not going to bite. I'm a fisherman, or at least I was.
Yeah.
I know bait when I see it.
Exactly. So that's the difference, I think.
And so, interesting mental exercise. Like, I don't know how we got to kittens on spaceships.
Yeah, we were talking about the different ways in which people can make decisions of what side of the paradigm they're going to be at.
Well, one of the bigger items to look at then is, it would be easy to say, hey, you didn't take ice cream from that politician because you were afraid.
No, it's because I was incorruptible. And I was taught by my grandma that I should not take anything from strangers. She never actually told me why.
Yeah.
But that was a rule. Like, it was written in stone. You do not take stuff from strangers, period.
So that was a program then?
Yes.
A program that you fully adopted and used and
because I trusted my grandma.
Because you trusted your grandma.
Yeah. And
so the program that she gives you is one that will keep you safe.
Yes.
Not because you're afraid, but because...
It's a knowing.
It's a know. Hey, this is the program and I'm going to take it.
Yeah, she was like 70 years old. She knew better, you know.
She knew better than me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you would know better than me if the aliens with kittens were good aliens or bad aliens.
Probably.
All right. So we can accept this program, which is if you want to choose a high frequency paradigm, don't get a shot.
Right.
It's just a program. Yeah. Don't get a shot.
Just don't get a shot. That's the agreement. That's a vote.
It's a vote.
Yeah, that's a vote.
And part of the reason for that vote was because this choice had to be one that you make by your own hand.
Yes. You have to make the choice. Right.
You can be tricked or compelled or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
But it's still you doing it.
But it's still you doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're the one picking, I'm out of here.
Mm-hmm.
The shot is just one of the ways.
Yes.
There are other ways coming.
Yes.
So, will they be as obvious? I mean, the second that I looked at this little shot thing, I looked at it like, wait a minute. Something's not right here. I didn't really think that it was a possibility that it's a good idea to begin with. I was like, that's a really weird thing to be doing. Why would you be like doing that? And then the little bit of research that I could do, I could find that, in fact, this is probably a very bad idea. I don't know why anybody would pick this, even though they're requiring it, or think or saying they're requiring it. They actually aren't. It was pretty obvious. Are the rest of the ways going to be as obvious, you think?
Yeah, they have to be as obvious. It can't really, they have to be as obvious, yes.
How come does it seem that it's not so obvious to so many? Like, we were in the comments, and I didn't actually double check, but it appears the Muji boy, he's a mask-vaxxer, and all his followers are mask-vaxxers or whatever, and afraid of viruses and things like that. And he'd spend a lot of time in meditation.
Well, one of the comments I thought was very wise.
Yeah.
This person said, well, I'm very suspicious of any kind of guru or teacher who sits above all the other people and requires them to kiss his feet.
Is that a red flag in some way?
Yes. If anybody tried to kiss my feet, I'd probably kick them up the ass and tell them to F off,
That's not what you would do. I saw somebody do that.
Yeah, they did.
And you didn't treat them that way at all.
No, I did not.
But you did stand them up and explain things.
Yes.
And that was
I grabbed them by the shoulders and I pulled them off the floor and I said, nope, this is not the new paradigm. This is not what we do.
Good job with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so admittedly that was a red flag, but some of the fruits of that red flag, I mean, the people that he had sit with him or were following his teaching or his understandings or his everything else, they may or may not have been kissing on his feet. They may not even ever have met him, but they are doing meditation and they are entering into a meditative state and they are contemplating the universe, and yet they still fall for what seems patently obvious is bullshit. No other word for it. So why is that?
It's amazing, isn't it?
It's like the other boy that we read. We love the music. Craig Press's music is brilliant. Mm-hmm. And he did 40 years of meditations out of body travels through all these universes.
Oh, what was his name? Joseph something?
Jürgen Ziwi, yeah. Fascinating reports of all of these extra-dimensional travels.
Yeah. And I would recommend his books, and it was really good.
Yeah.
And then the last book.
And the paragraphs in there, the United States is the last bastion of freedom in the civilized world, and without the U.S., the world's doomed, and ISIS has a special hell. That's the only hell that you can't escape from.
Yeah, in the entire universe.
In the entire universes and dimensions.
Yeah. We were like, what?
Where do you get to there from where you've been?
Yeah, it's
Same
really
thing
weird.
with the Muji and the people that would follow him and the meditations and the wise counsel. At the same point, they get to there. And why?
It's like I don't know. It's like a broken record.
It's like a broken record?
Yeah, resets. It's really bizarre.
It's almost like you cannot depend on things that you think you should be able to depend on to open your eyes and keep them open.
Yeah.
That you might need a tribe of high frequency co-creators to navigate minefields and Easter eggs and have them call you out on your bullshit if you happen to fall into some.
Yes.
You might be necessary because they are invisible to you. That's why they catch you. Is that why?
It could be, yeah.
Could be. All right, that makes sense. But I've noticed a tendency for hard-headedness and what's this? Some people feel like they need to reach all the way up to the light and the fire and touch it and see how hot it actually is before they say, yeah, you're right, it's too hot. I suppose that's okay so long you don't,
bring
swallow the fire.
And bring people with you.
And bring other people to the fire to touch it with you. I don't know.
But if they're not victims, they're chosen to be a part of that, right?
Right. I guess the bottom line is, pick your co-creators carefully.
Yeah. So
in all of my experience, so far you're the only person who's teaching things who I've discovered that didn't at some point or another Muji on us or something, you know what I mean? I remember years ago you said go find 5 instructors, 5 teachers that you would get information from and pick high frequency ones. And I remember trying to do that and oh my God, did I fail so miserably. Yeah, you do.
Hi.
Dora. So, do you have any suggestions on sources of information that we can? I mean, how do we find high frequency sources of information?
Oh God, that's BB's.
BB's in our lap.
Chewed my mic.
These animals. Well, I think Dora came up, so that made.
She has to, yeah.
So I kind of, I consider now, and at that time I was thinking like spiritual teachers like a Muji or like at the time, I'm not even going to mention the names.
You know what? At the time, it felt like a good idea. okay? I quite honestly thought that there were lots and lots of people on the planet who were waking up and guiding others in a very straightforward, ethical, high-frequency way. But you're right. I mean, I haven't actually found anybody who hasn't at some point or at some degree fallen for low-frequency stuff. Okay. And even I know of a couple of people that we have talked about or talked to that seem to be on the ball at a public level, and they were saying all the right things, but then when I explored their private lives, they were not talking or walking their talk. Yeah. And their lives were shit, man. Pardon my language again. So it's one of those situations, you know. Ooh, I think our mail's here.
See, that's okay. She got it. I think you're right. Well, I've amended that to acknowledge that I keep five high frequency teachers that don't necessarily teach meditation or spiritual things, like Dr. Cowan.
Oh,
I consider him a high frequency
absolutely, yeah.
source.
Yes.
And I keep an eye on him.
Uh-huh.
It's like trust and verify.
Trust and verify, yes.
I think you've said that before.
Trust and verify.
And just because we're at the trust and verify level and everything's been trustworthy up to this point doesn't mean
that tomorrow
you can fall into this minefield of some kind. So you have to be conscious and aware.
Always, all the time.
So part of being conscious and aware includes things like what? What tools would you use?
Truthing.
Truthing would be one of your tools?
Yes. Yeah. Always use the fear process and exercise for sure. Because a lot of the times we just fall into fear. Sometimes we fall into fear of trusting ourselves, right? Because all our spidey senses are telling us one thing, but all the evidence and subjective or objective aspects of what we've been shown show us another thing.
Yeah.
So it's really tough sometimes, you know, to make a decision or know what's right. So use the truthing exercise that I teach.
Right. Boy, puppy. Okay, you got him. She has the cutest little bark. I mean, she's like 3.5, 4 pounds.
She's 4 pounds, right?
Yeah, she's pretty sure she can take on the UPS truck man.
Yeah. What did you do? Did you scare him away? You did? Oh, good job.
Good girl, thank you.
Yes, you good girl. You good girl. Yeah,
So when data comes to you, for example, from a trusted source that's high frequency and it scares you, do the fear processing, right?
Yeah, I haven't found any data that scared me so far.
Well, I'm talking about people who are listening.
Oh, okay.
Because there's so much data running around.
Yeah.
And when you start running down the rabbit hole, you encounter a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Verify.
Very, very far or fast. Process your fear when you listen to something.
Yeah.
And then maybe
righteousness.
Your righteousness.
Yes, your anger.
Your triggers.
Basically.
Process your triggers, and by processing your triggers and processing your fears, you mean...
Okay, so here's something that we've been hearing recently. There's a lot of data around it, and it's coming from every single direction.
Yes.
And it's one of those things where it says that people who got vaccinated are actually affecting and making other people sick.
Yes, the vaccinated people are as dangerous to you as getting the shot.
Yeah,
if not worse.
Dangerous, they're going to damage you, and you're screwed, basically. You're going to die.
You need to,
So here's the thing.
What's the word? You need to separate yourself from the vaccinated people.
Yeah. So
because they're infectious.
When I looked at it, at a medical level, it makes sense in a way because people have bodies and bodies communicate with each other in pheromones, through breath, chemicals and everything else. For example,
and subtly, empathically,
my physical body,
I
can smell people's illnesses when there's somebody who's sick. You know, they have diabetes or they have a lung cancer or a heart condition or a flu or a cold. I know that they're sick by their smell and what the nature of that sickness is. Mm. It's really bizarre, right? But I've had that all my life. I've had that ability my entire life, okay? My brain translated into smell, but it's probably something else.
Exactly.
It could be the particles from their breath, right? That other people don't pick up, but I turn them into a smell, and then my brain can understand it.
Good
So, people's bodies affect other bodies. It is true. But you have to understand that if you didn't agree to get vaccinated, you haven't chosen the dark paradigm, right? Sorry, honey.
Okay.
Slapping you around. There's a massive mosquito on your face.
Oh my gosh. I don't need to be a baby mosquito feeder.
So that's something, even though there's a lot of evidence, people getting affected by the people and very, very badly and getting sick and everything else, I would say...
Having a reaction.
Having
a
response.
response.
A response. So take your vitamins, the D vitamin, the C vitamins, K and zinc. Take those. Those
and nice
will keep
elderberries and nice chaga tea and all of the things that support
your system, right? Support your body. You're not choosing the dark paradigm, the light dark paradigm. You're still choosing the light paradigm, even though you may have been affected by other people's vaccine. It does not mean that you got vaccinated through air. That does not mean that.
Doesn't mean you inadvertently, accidentally picked the light dark paradigm because you were around people who were vaccinated.
And they got sick.
Right.
Right. And you're getting all the same side effects.
And you get some symptoms.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is different. This is an entirely different thing.
Yeah. So, I wanted to clarify that because there was a lot of comments and questions in our Telegram channel asking that, right? Mm-hmm. Does that mean, that we're all screwed or we're all going to die and this and the other, right? It doesn't. You literally have to put that thing inside of you by your own hand, right? Which means you have to drive there. You have to make an appointment. You have to get somebody.
Sit there, get somebody to do it for you.
Yeah.
If you're too, well, they ain't gonna let you do it yourself, literally.
Right.
But you literally have to show up.
Show up and
you
make sure
have
that
to get in line.
Put your arm there, out to
you
get
have to
vaccine.
sit there. Yeah. So not the same, and you're definitely. For you personally, individually, your own experience of this split is a bit of a mirror of your experience of the non-physical start of the split, right? In 2010 or 11 or whenever that was, where you were taken out of your body for a week or so.
Yeah. About 10 days, a week.
And it was traumatic. It's too traumatic to be
in the matrix
at that point.
Happened,
Plus, you disagreed with it.
Right.
Which, I'm pretty sure most of us who've picked the light disagree with it at a level of the way that we wish it was a different way, which was everybody experienced the split without the splitting. Just everybody's into the light. But since that didn't happen, your experience of it has been relatively traumatic. It hasn't been peaches and cream, easy slide, right? Not at all. Don't cry, honey.
It's been pretty tough.
It's been tough.
Because I'm sensitive,
Yes, you are sensitive, honey.
And I am the human collective.
Yeah.
In a way that I haven't seen others be the human collective.
Yeah.
So, it's been pretty tough.
I remember you mentioned in connection with the Lemurians, they had described and explained to you how tough it was going to be so that you were prepared for it.
Yeah.
Hopefully that helped some, but you're not having an easy go of it.
No, I've been pretty sick. At a physical level, but also it's just painful, It hurts. Physically hurts.
Physically hurts, yeah.
It's a physical split. Yeah, in 2011, 2010, I can't remember when it was. I think 11. But before that, 2006, the Lemurians kept coming up. I didn't even know what Lemurians were at the time.
I know. When you mentioned them, I was like, Lemurians? What's that?
Yeah. What's that? Some random. I was in Shasta because I needed to go to Shasta. I didn't know Shasta existed. I just needed to go to a mountain that day.
Yeah.
It was 4:00 in the morning. I wake up and I had a tiny little baby And he was a few weeks old. And I turned around to my husband and I said, I need to go to the mountain. I have to get out of the valley. I have to go to a mountain. And he says, what mountain? I said, I don't care. Just take me to the nearest mountain. And he says, okay. And we got the baby dressed and everything, climbing the car and left. And he says, where are we going? He says, there's a mountain nearby in about 4 hours. It's called Shasta. I said, great, perfect. Let's go there. And we got there and then we started climbing the mountain in the car. And we went past one car park, no, higher, and eventually we got to the one that was good. And I sat in the car park, and there was a little picnic tables and things. Took the baby out of the car. It was freezing cold.
Speaking of which, it just got cold here, very cold. Did you open up the Lemurian portal or what?
Probably.
It's freezing.
And sat there for about half an hour, and says, okay, I feel good now. Yeah, it's perfect. Let's go home. And he looks at me and says, we just drove 4 hours. We're not going home. I booked us a hotel in town and says, oh, great, perfect. So we drove down to the town and I was in the lobby of the hotel and it was like a storefront. It was in a corner and there was things on the windows and things, and I was walking around the store looking at things. She had lots of trinkets and beautiful things. And this woman started walking down the street and saw me through the window. And she looked at me, her eyes went all big. And she ran inside, and I thought maybe she thought I worked there. Mm-hmm. So the first thing came out of my mouth was, I don't work here. And she looked at me and she says, oh my gosh, she said, you're her, you're it. And I said, what? She says, well, I was given this crystal by the Lemurians 20 years ago. I think it was 20 years ago, she said. And they told me that it was for somebody else, that I would know them when I saw them. And when I saw you through the window, I knew 100% that it's you. I've been carrying this crystal in my purse for 20 years, so I can give it to you. And it's from the Lemurians. And I'm like, okay. Okay. And I had my babies kind of hugging my baby, like, okay. And she gave me the crystal. It's really beautiful crystal, really gorgeous. Sort of
like aliens and kittens?
Well, she gave me the crystal. I wasn't going to go anywhere with her. And she said, okay. She said, well, my job is done. I've done it, and she was really happy and she left. And I'm standing there in this lobby good. With this crystal. And like, what the hell are Lemurians? Why would they give her a crystal to give to me 20 years ago? So I went up to the reception and my husband was still like checking us in and stuff. And I said, hey, have you ever heard of Lemurians?
At the hotel?
And the lady behind the counter said, oh, yeah, we have a pamphlet all about the Lemurians. It's over there.
Of course.
So I just go and get the pamphlet.
Only in Chester.
Only in Chester. And it was all about the Lemurians. And wow, that's amazing. So that was one. And then that kind of happened twice again. It happened in 2011 or later. I can't remember when, but it happened in Ecuador one time. And it happened somewhere else. I can't remember the third one, but random people come up to me and say, I've been carrying this crystal and for all these years, and it's for you. It's a Lemurian crystal. And I think it was Oregon the other time. Anyways,
I feel a little bit like a calling card. It's like, hello, connect.
Exactly. And I'm like, why don't they just come to me? Right? Why do they have to send all these people with crystals? Why don't they just come to me? So I tried to connect with them telepathically, and boom, there was an instant connection. And I said, hey, I'll put the kettle on, just come over. And said, no, we can't. We can't come over. This is why, because they would be perceived or seen or detected or something would put us both in danger. Like, oh, okay. Well, what is it? And then they told me and they showed me the split. Then it happened when great number of the human collective decided to have a light-dark experience.
When the light-dark experience came in to be experienced.
Yes, originally.
Originally, some 60,000 years ago.
Yeah. And they explained that Lemurian is not a country or a race, but it's actually the human collective members around the world who decided not to have that experience, to continue with a natural light experience, because the human collective is naturally light.
So that kind of means that at some point in that point, I picked light-dark experience?
Yes, you did.
Oh my gosh. Oopsie. Did I know?
Yes.
I thought it was a good idea?
Yes.
I did think it was a good idea?
Yes. We got to play war.
It was a great war.
Yeah, you played war a lot.
I mean, it was a great war. Doesn't mean it was awesome. I mean, I don't really know how to use the right word for that. There were good things. There were bad things. It was the good times. It was some bad times. It was miserable also, you know.
Yeah.
At some point, I remember waking up, standing up and saying, I'm done.
I'm done, yeah.
Yeah. And at that point,
it was over.
And working towards this point of time, which is now.
Yep. Yep. And now you don't even get into fights.
No, I don't even get into fights.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, that was the and they showed me just a tinge. They said, we need to warn you that when the split comes, and this was after 2011, after we were told that, you know, it's going to be a split and not an ascension. So when the split comes, it's going to be extremely painful. You don't know how painful this is going to be. You can't imagine, but we're here to warn you that this is going to be extremely painful. And I said, okay. And then when the energetic split came, when I was told that it was going to be a split, I said, not on my watch, right? So that was an agreement for me to be taken out of the matrix, and it was just a placeholder in my body. And when I came back from that, back into the matrix, when it was the energetic split had happened, it literally felt like my body was being ripped in half. It was so, so painful, not just emotionally, but physically painful. It was horrific. And I just went, whoa, you know, now I can say thanks for the warning, because I don't know what I'd have done if I couldn't understand this right now.
You might have attributed it to something else, you know, and maybe it might have been used as a way to trick you into something.
Yeah, take me out.
Take you out.
Yeah. And I never knew that type of pain was even possible on the planet, man. It was just horrible. And then, of course now, there's physical pain, especially when I go into towns and cities, when all the physical bodies are connecting with each other, telling each other they're mortally injured, you know?
Yep.
Not necessarily that they're going to die, but their lineage and everything, their DNA, everything's gone. It's like over for them. And that translates into me not feeling well, getting headaches and stomach aches, and physically, like, not well. You know, I can hardly move sometimes.
Non-functioning. Yeah. Not even functional.
Yeah. But if I stay from towns and cities, I'm pretty much okay. But, yeah.
I have noticed that the longer that we are here, the less I understand what's going on there. I can't even conceive that things are worse, you know, or more cranked up or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I can read and look and find sources that say everything's worse than before, and twice as hardly locked it down, and more infections and more people dying, etc. And I cannot even conceive of it. Even when I travel, I went to New York, didn't see anything of that. The only miserable part about the trip to New York was the airplane ride home. I was maxed out. I think I had gotten my complete dose.
Yeah, of nothing, because you didn't see anything?
Complete dose of masks, honestly.
Oh, the masks.
I have a slight issue with righteousness. You may have or may not have noticed that over the last, few years.
Yeah, a little bit.
So if I don't process my feelings of righteousness,
it explodes.
I can feel that effect quite seriously.
Yeah.
Not super seriously. I just get a nasty headache and I become righteous and crabby.
Yeah.
Which is a bad combination.
Yeah.
I don't recommend it to anyone. Anyway, yeah, that was it. But honestly, on the plane ride, even the stewardesses were not being upset about masks being down or anything. They just let you do whatever you want.
That's good.
But I was still maxed.
Yeah. Another interesting thing, I mean, these side effects are pretty much invisible. I mean, all the side effects and deaths are being scrubbed. That's why those are invisible. But you showed me some articles or some posts from professional drivers, like truck drivers, USPS and UPS and other people who drive for a living.
They're there every day and they know what's normal and what's not.
What's normal and what's not. And they've said that there's like near accidents all the time. People just not focusing.
Not focusing, right.
Yeah.
And we had one in the paper just the other day.
Yeah.
One of the tribal leaders.
From a nearby
tribe, right. Just
found dead in a field in his car.
Dead in a field in his car. Drove off the road, didn't crash into anything, maybe stopped on a tree, but...
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah. I was asking Daniela about it today because she lives in California and she has to drive a lot. And she said she had actually mentioned to her spouse and her in-laws that there were so many near misses. Nowadays, it was like they're so distracted. She said people were literally texting on the phone while driving on the highway, not even looking at the highway anymore. So it's like she'd never seen that before, and she's like, she noticed it, and that her in-laws had noticed it too. They said, "Yep, distracted drivers. They're everywhere. Really, really distracted, near misses, left, right, and center." And it's like that disconnect, right? It's like
we'll be running an
mental
experiment
fog
ourselves on this weekend.
Why?
Because we'll be checking out the roads for 1,000 or 2 miles and see if there's distracted drivers or not.
I hope we make it there and back, man.
Oh, I guarantee you one thing.
What?
I'll be in the car. We're going to make it.
Yeah. Without incident.
But we will be able to observe what does it look like.
Yeah, it's all about agreement anyways. I remember once, many years ago, I was driving back to California from here, and I think I was near Seattle, and I saw a pickup truck drive into the side and under a huge truck, one of those big, what are those called, the big trucks? Semi-truck. And then the semi-truck turned and started rolling and taking out all these other cars, which went flying. And I thought that was only happened in the movies, right? And I was in my Mercedes, and I could see the whole thing growing, expanding, and there's bits of cars flying towards me. And I had a choice. I could put my brakes on and turn to the side, right? But I was in the area where things were landing. And my other choice was put my foot down and just weave through the cars, right? To try and get out of the firing line, the area with all these bits of cars. And
when you say put your foot down, you mean like full throttle?
Full throttle, yeah.
Not full brakes.
110 miles an hour.
Let's go as fast as we can.
Yes, 120 miles an hour to get out of there.
Right.
And I had that type of car. So that's what I chose. I chose to put my foot down and go for it. And I started weaving through all the cars, and then it was really hard because people were seeing these things coming at them and put their brakes on, like without signaling, or it's just random panic, or changing lanes to try and get away from cars rolling towards them and stuff. So I had to weave in and out of rolling cars and other cars stopping and other cars going, and eventually I got past them, and I looked in my mirror, and it was just like there all were there in the highway. All the lanes were stopped, and there was smoke and fire and explosions everywhere. And I'm like, good grief, I thought that only happened in the movies, man. And I carried on driving. I mean, my adrenaline was pumping, and it's very unpleasant for me when adrenaline comes into my body. But it was a choice point, right? I knew that as a choice point, and you always get a choice, and hopefully you do it consciously, right? So even if you are somewhere with, like we were talking about earlier, don't go through red lights, right? But if you're driving out, be 100% more aware of your surroundings. Don't expect people to stay in their lanes. Make sure that you're very, very aware of keeping distance between yourself and other cars.
Right.
So be extremely aware of your driving. Diligent and
aware
don't
that
be in people's blind spots.
Everybody on the road now is fully there.
No, they're not.
So basically, by joining in that you're joining in their process.
And
don't be their co-creator.
Don't expect for people to be there and not to change lanes randomly or swerve off the road.
Yeah, back in my day, we called it defensive driving.
Yes. Defensive driving, yeah. That's the way I was taught to drive, so...
You pretty much expect people to be doing the wrong thing or drifting or not paying attention, and you plan accordingly. So if someone's drifting into your lane, you might have to go into the ditch or you might have to go into the other lane. But you don't just drive straight into them.
No. Just put your brakes on, man.
Put your brakes on, something to change your CBDR. Yeah. In the Coast Guard and in the fishing world, we call that CBDR.
What does that mean?
Constant bearing, decreasing range.
Yes.
Change something, and then you won't hit anything.
Exactly.
You change your speed, and then your bearing's going to change, and then it's going to miss you. You change your direction, same thing. You're going to alter something that won't hit you. Yeah, just don't drive headlong into a wall, basically.
Right.
And that's the same advice that comes for the what do you need for the next 6 months to a year without making yourself terrifically uncomfortable. I might need coffee, for example. I like it. Yeah. So I might have a stash of coffee. Yep. I'm not worried about toilet paper. We've got a creek.
Wash your butt in the creek.
Yep.
This one dries in the summer, you know.
It's going to be a rough summer.
Sand. You can clean it with sand.
We got a river, too.
Yes,
it'll be a long walk. Oh, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
So I've been reading also about those... supply chain mess-ups, you know? That's something that's been talked about and coming for ages. If something closes up, messes up, a little mess up, and then everything has a shock, and then it takes a month to clear up or 2 months to clear up. Like we went to look for trailers, little camper trailers, with a couple of our friends, and the company said, paradoxically, they had had their best month in the entire history of 20 years of selling campers.
But they can't deliver
and at the same time, everything they have on order can't come because the bits that go in them are back ordered or stuck somewhere or didn't make it or can't be built because they're missing a chip or they don't have a this or they don't have a that. So the camper company that builds them is like, yeah, we got million order, but we can't deliver because they can't get this part.
Yeah.
So that's the supply chain foul-ups. And those things mean that things that normally would be not thought about for a second, they like mess up the process. So you go to the store to go get something, that thing ain't there, not because that thing's not made, it's just because one of the things that goes in that thing isn't around. Yeah. Weather, chips, shipping, whatever. Manipulative stuff.
Yeah.
So if you have 6 months worth of coffee and the coffee supply dries up, you can't go to Starbucks to get no coffee, you don't care. And if you can go to Starbucks, you still don't care because you're going to drink that coffee either way.
Yes.
I'm not afraid of running out of coffee. That was one of the things I was looking at, and I processed that fear. It's like, what happens if I have no coffee? It's like, nothing. I'll have tea, drink some hot water, I'll have chaga, I'll have 700 different
dandelions all the yard.
We have licorice root growing in the trees. We have Indian tea. There's a ton of things I can make to drink instead. We watched Azerbaijan yesterday on the TV.
Yeah. Rose petals.
And they had some rose petals and some cherry leaves and some berries that looked like, I thought they were currants and you thought they were blueberries or something.
Blueberries, they're definitely blueberries. Yeah.
They were definitely currants.
They were definitely blueberries.
They were were not blueberries.
They were blueberries.
And so anyway, they put those in their tea. And then they had a pot. I want to get one of those pots. Did you see that hot water pot?
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
So in the middle of it is a fire pit.
Yeah.
They put like coals from the fire in.
Yeah.
And they put a little chimney on top.
Like a tube inside, yeah.
And then they poured the water on the outside around it. And then, 15, 20 minutes, they got hot water.
Yeah.
Just from the coals from their little fire.
Yep.
And it was like the process to go make tea. It just reminded me of our hot tub.
Oh, yeah.
Because we have a horse trough that's hooked up to a wood stove. And if you want to take a hot bath, you just have to cut a lot of wood and then stick it in there and then go check it every 5 minutes and pour more in. And then eventually you're going to get a hot bath. And it might be very hot. And you definitely get those exercise. It's like a hot bath is process, not hot bath is turn on the water and get in.
Yeah.
Well, it was the same with the hot water tool they used. Yeah, but she had cucumbers and all kind of vegetables growing. I mean, if Walmart closed, they wouldn't even have noticed.
They wouldn't notice, no.
Not even a tiny bit. If you had to have some kind of luciferase jellyfish thing in your blood system proving you got a vaccine to get into Walmart, they would be like, A, B, C, do not get it. I don't need Walmart or that. But, you know, if you're reasonably prepared for a reasonable amount of shift, you're really going to be fine.
Yeah.
But if you're not prepared and you're in a bad spot, it's going to be uncomfortable.
It's going to be uncomfortable.
But you've picked...
Yep, you have.
You've picked Hero's Journey or Princess Journey.
Yes.
Either way, at the end of the journey, you're going to get there.
Yeah, we're pretty much Princess Journey here, huh? Because even if we run out of protein, you take the north out and grab a ton of fish.
Well, anybody that we know who is hungry can have all the fish in the world, you know.
Yeah.
And,
You just need fuel.
I just need a little bit of fuel, and I have enough fuel for about a month of trips.
Yes.
I mean, which is like 30 drive out there and get fishes. And 30 go out there and gets fishes is a year's worth of... Because one day of me fishing is enough for a long time to eat.
A long time, yeah.
So, yeah. Not a big worry.
Plus there's elk all over the place. And deer.
Yeah, but the elk are pretty safe from us.
From us, yeah. But we have friends.
Yeah.
And cousins.
We have roosters too, who are also pretty safe from us.
Yes.
Of course, I consider it my duty, in a sense, to make sure that we're never hungry enough that our chickens and our elks aren't safe from us. Because, you know, at some point they might not be.
Right.
I don't see that day anytime soon.
No, that's good.
Yeah, but it is like chicken in the fridge. They're just running around eating still.
Yeah. Got plenty of eggs.
Yeah, we got plenty of eggs. We ain't gonna kill the golden goose. Is that what it is?
Right.
Yep. Maybe we should get a couple cows, honey, so we have milk. But somebody's gonna need to do the milking.
Oh, man.
Not me. You got to get up early. Hopefully somebody joins our tribe who's like into getting up early and milking cows.
Yeah, and has cows.
Maybe even has cows. That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
All right.
Then we have cheese, we have milk. Because you don't like goats, so...
Yeah, not goat milk, not so fond.
No.
Speaking of which,
What
do you think about our idea of selling beach sand in a box? The boxes fell apart immediately.
Yeah, they did.
It was ridiculous.
I was thinking just a little jar of sand from the West Coast, you know?
But I thought a box because you want to stick your hand in it and like connect with the beach.
Yeah.
Stick your whole hand in it.
Yeah, it's really nice.
It's like a gallon of beach sand.
Yeah, I got a beach hand.
That would be so nice.
Yeah.
They probably already sell it, but the shipping is probably $20.
Oh, more than that. But $100 just for the shipping, for that weight.
Nah.
Oh, yeah.
Nah.
Yeah, I've shipped things. Yeah.
Maybe we'll go check.
I shipped one tiny little book abroad.
Yeah.
And it was $50. And it didn't even weigh anything.
Well, we'll get a gallon and we'll go weigh it, and then we'll go find out how much it ships for.
Okay.
And then somebody ever needs a gallon of sand for sticking their hand in it.
Send us $500 and we'll send it to you.
We're going to figure out the shipping first. That sand was so nice yesterday.
It was so nice, yeah.
We had a chore. We have our camper on the res, set up with our electricity, and we got the bulldozer guy to show up, and he made everything beautiful, and he has a little steamroller too, and he made it flat.
Yep.
And I got Brett, and we used a rake and shovel, and we did our, what do you call that, landscaping?
A little bit of landscaping,
Yeah, we
put some
planted some flowers for the hummingbirds.
Local wildflowers.
We took our bikes for a ride, and we ended up at the beach to get a couple of boxes of sand because when you come out of your camper, you don't want to just step onto gravel.
Yeah.
We want to step onto
Bricks.
Or tiles or whatever you call it.
Yeah, they're bricks.
Right. So we put the bricks on the gravel, and guess what?
They're all over the place.
They're all wobbly crickety.
And nasty.
So Hopi had taught us to put sand down first. And I felt, well, you brought it up. You said we need to go get sand. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Hopi uses sand. So where are we going to get sand? Well,
there's a beach right next to us.
How about the beach right next to us? That works. So we got our sand and we put it out and we put our bricks down, and now we have a beautiful place and beautiful sand, and we thought, I bet other people might need sand.
They probably love to get
How about we
sand.
just get a box of sand and we could send it to whoever wants a box of sand?
Yeah.
You said that's a great idea if the shipping ain't $500. So now you know what our next job is.
Collect sand for people.
No, figure out the shipping.
Oh, okay.
And if it isn't $500 to ship a gallon of sand, then if you want some sand, let me know.
Yeah.
Or fuss. Oh, I can't say that yet. When can I say it?
May the 3rd.
Oh, jeez. All right. Well, I hope you aren't, wallowing in mystery.
Yeah.
But it's not anything but good.
It's good stuff.
Excellent stuff. So we're wrapping up, right?
Yeah.
I want to know if there's any courses or any books or any meditations or anything that you would
I think that...
recommend.
Yes. I would recommend the truthing class that I did recently. Definitely do that one. Because you really need it during this time. IneliaBenz.com, go to the store.
Yeah.
I think it's IneliaBenz.com/store. You get it straight there.
Okay.
And do a search on truthing, or truth, I think. And you'll get it. And definitely do that class. Definitely do that class. It's really useful right now to just figure out all the data and information and your niggles and intuitions and everything else.
All right.
That's the one I would recommend right now.
Can you how about a book?
Of all the books,
I think the angel book sticks
I think
out.
the angel book, yeah. Interview with an Angel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might help these days.
I think so, because it is
Very connected.
it seems very good time to be connecting with a collective like that.
Yeah, I think so.
With a large emotional body.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah.
Okay.
And in my newsletter on Monday last, I sent out the observation exercise. If you haven't done it yet, go ahead and do the observation exercise from the newsletter.
Okay, how do they sign up for the newsletter if they haven't?
Go ineliabenz.com and sign up for the newsletter.
And where would they find last months or weeks or whatever?
It should be as an article too, in the blog.
Can you explain observation in a 5-second quickie?
So observation, the way that I teach it, is a way in which you look at something, a topic or an object or something, and this is the human collective we're observing. And you can use like a photograph of a crowd or the planet Earth or something like that to make it easier for you. You look at it with your physical eyes, and then you make yourself step out of the way and allow the universe, all the beings, all the sentiency of the universe to look through your eyes at this item. It's very simple. It's not complicated at all. People are having a hard time stepping out of their way. And one of my students said because they're very stuck in the I, me, and myself, so stepping out of the way is kind of hard.
That makes sense.
If you use a photograph and you just like visualize kind of like almost like you're stepping out of your body and looking and allowing your eyes, the universe, to look through your eyes, then it should work really fast, really easily. And do it for as long as possible. It could be a few seconds, but ideally you'll manage to do it for an hour. And
Wow.
what does it do? Sometimes you get information, and that's fine. It's called contemplation. You can go into contemplation for a while, get a lot of data, and that's interesting. But then go back to observation. Observation you don't engage with anything that comes up. You just think it and it goes away, and you just allow the universe to observe it. What happens? It gets resolved very quickly. Things become clear very quickly, and data comes up very quickly in the situation.
Cool.
Yeah.
That feels like complete.
Yeah.
Like
Me too.
that's a good way to wrap up.
Yeah. Very nice.
I love you, honey.
I love you too, darling.